Before you teach your first lesson, it will be helpful to take a look at some key documents. First, the scope and sequence year at a glance for your grade level. Each grade level includes this document in Module 1 materials, both online and in print. You'll notice that it shows which microphase aligns with each module of the grade level. Here in Module 1 of 2nd grade, for example, the instruction aligns with the late full alphabetic microphase. This chart also offers a brief summary of the skills covered in the module, and below that, a more detailed list of the spelling patterns and skills to be taught in that module. This document offers an important big picture view of your whole group instruction for the year. Another key document to look over before you begin teaching is the module overview. This document begins with a detailed summary of what will be taught in the module and what students should be able to do by the end. Next, you'll see an overview of what will be introduced in each cycle. Remember, a cycle is 5 days of instruction. You'll also notice that each module overview offers pacing considerations. This will help you be intentional about the use of your flex weeks and give you a heads up about any particularly challenging things coming up, or a reminder about mid-year or end-of-year benchmark assessments. There are also sections that offer more details about assessments and a suggested focus for habits of character. Texts used in the modules, all available in the Skills Block student and teacher materials, are listed along with standards covered. Last is the module at a glance, which lays out the specific skills, spelling patterns, and high-frequency words to be taught in each cycle. One more important document to refer to before teaching a whole group lesson is the cycle overview. This overview drills down into more details about each cycle. We suggest you read over these overviews the week before teaching a cycle of instruction. You'll notice the focus skills and the high-frequency words right off the bat. Next is a cycle word list, which includes a sample list of representatives of the spelling patterns being taught in that cycle. These words can be used if you need some words in addition to those included in a given activity of a whole group lesson for reteaching purposes. You'll also find the agenda, ongoing assessments, and the daily learning targets for each lesson of the cycle here. Next, you'll see detailed teaching notes about each lesson, which offer considerations for differentiation and extension, ideas for English language learners, and tips and tricks related to the content and new instructional practices. And the cycle overview concludes with a list of materials that will need to be copied, created, or collected for the cycle. Now on to the actual lesson. Each lesson begins with the daily learning targets. At first glance, it looks like there are a lot of targets, but the target or targets attached to opening A or work time A, including the standards in parentheses, are the actual daily targets. Those nested below with the dash bullets are supporting targets. These are for your information mostly. You might look to these to get a better idea of the precursor skills for the daily target. You can look back to these if your students did not master the daily target for some ideas for reteaching and remediation. If you regularly unpack and review daily targets or objectives with your students and you need to narrow them down further, the targets for work time are the ones that are most important for you and the students to understand and internalize. Next, you'll see the ongoing assessments and agenda for the lesson. You'll recognize all of this from the cycle overview. This gives you a big picture idea of the instructional practices that will be covered and then possible assessment opportunities. In the In Advance section, you'll get a list of materials you need to find or prepare before you teach the lesson. The vocabulary section lists any words that will appear in the lesson that might be unfamiliar to students. Consider pre-teaching these or taking some time during the lesson to ensure students understand. The materials list includes all of the materials, whether teacher created or not, that you'll need from the lesson. Aside from the normal classroom items like whiteboards and pencils, all the materials you need can be found in the supporting materials. In some cases, a chart might need to be copied or created, but you'll at least find a model of that in the supporting materials. So you won't need to go out and find anything that we ask you to use in the lessons. Now, on to the lessons. The first portion of a whole group lesson is the opening. You have about 5 to 7 minutes to get through the opening, so you won't want to linger on this activity for too long. It's generally designed to help students warm up for the work time activity. Both the opening and the work time activities include a transition song. These songs are meant to give the students an idea of what they are about to work on and to help you as a teacher to transition from one activity to the next. And of course, to help infuse joy into the lesson. So feel free to make these songs your own. You might add some words, create your own version, or make it into a chant. What is important is that the students know what to expect for each activity and that you're thinking of ways to make the activities joyful and appropriate for primary students. Now you'll notice to the right of the opening and the work time a section called Meeting Students' Needs. This section offers tips for differentiating that portion of the lesson for below grade level, above grade level, and ELL students. Now let's move on to work time, the heart of the lesson. This section will take a little more time, probably about 10 minutes, though it will likely take you much longer at first as you and the students familiarize yourself with the curriculum and the routines. You'll notice after you've taught a few cycles that the instructional practices or routines you see in the opening and the work time repeat throughout a module. This helps you and the students to know what to expect, so you can focus your energy on learning, not learning a new activity each week. This will also help the lessons to take less and less time each week as you all get more comfortable with the materials. Each lesson ends with a closing. This can be done right after a whole group lesson, during small groups, or you might bring the whole class back together after the whole hour is complete to close and reflect on their learning. This is a time to connect to the habits of character and to help students think about what they've done today that has helped them become a more proficient reader. This is a great time to have students talk with a partner or use some other protocol to ensure that everyone gets a chance to reflect and talk during this brief time. As you move further into the lesson, you'll get to the differentiated small groups work with the teacher section. We'll focus on small group instruction more in section 6, but for now, it's just important for you to know that this guidance is in every lesson and includes suggestions for a variety of microphases. This guidance usually aligns with the whole group lesson, but you can teach something totally different in small groups if you have a student or a group that is significantly above or below grade level. If you have the printed curriculum, the supporting materials come next, which always begins with the daily assessment, called a snapshot in kindergarten and first grade. You can find the supporting materials online in the beginning of the lesson with the button that says Download Materials. And that's it. So, as you begin to think about how the skills block will live in your classroom, we hope you'll find all of these documents an invaluable guide.